Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show where we talk about deep and interesting topics and try to get to the heart of the idea through multiple perspectives.
but if this is your first time joining, please give the channel a like and a subscribe. 'Cause we have the chat up, we do random giveaways and things like that, so it doesn't hurt to stay active.
Speaking of staying active, don't be afraid to jump in that chat because we want you as part of this conversation as much as we are. Because obviously, Meta Perspective Podcast isn't meta
Without
without
your
your
perspective.
Nailed it.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about God powers.
The best ones.
So we decided to take somewhat of a more spiritual angle with tonight. We have talked about things like the law of attraction in the past. Kind of, if you're not familiar with the law of attraction, it's a way to kind of manifest things in the universe. But we've been taking a closer look at it spiritually lately, and there's a lot of things underlying that kind of relate to the existence of a higher power, a creator, things like of that nature. So we're not going to try to get too religious with it, but we are kind of going to explore those same ideas from a kind of spiritual religious foundation, because that's like the ultimate goal is to live a happy life. It's true to manifest the things that you want, but it's that's not always the case when you're thinking purely from your materialistic kind of point of view. That's almost antithetical to what you actually want. It's a lot of people think that they want the Ferrari and all this stuff, and like even people that have tons of money, it's like they're not necessarily happy. So to truly get to what you want and to boil down the world into your terms, there has to be a guiding force, and that force, if it comes from within, is often misguided. The guiding force from within is misguided. So you have to look to outside of that, and in order to do that, there's a big thing out there called religion and all this, and whether you're open to that, whether you're religious right now, or whether you're just kind of spiritual, looking for an outlet, things like that, we'd like to make the case that tying it to a foundational morality that's not not necessarily defined by humans per se, even though that is like the foundation of our laws. Our founding doctrines in the United States, these were all God-fearing men, or whatever you'd like to say. It all kind of comes in, it all works together in a way that, to be the person that you want to be, to do the things that you want to do, there needs to be some kind of backing, some type of foundation, and that's kind of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, and going off what you said, I mean, what we all want is to have some level of happiness, joy, inner peace. Like what it all comes down to is we want to have some kind of anchor through tough times. We want to be happy, but we also want to be able to survive the unhappiness. I think at the root, that's everybody. I don't think there's many people that are like, you throw a surprise party and get them stuff. They may feel uncomfortable or awkward, but nobody's like, I'd rather be alone and not know anybody. Most people are like, well, they still care, assholes. It's like there is some kind of joy, peace, and happiness we're all looking for, regardless of how you want to define it. So kind of like you were saying with The Secret, I've noticed the big thing with The Secret is really pushing, like, you can manifest anything. You could have a Ferrari. You just have to believe it. Now, not much of it talks about how you could use that process on yourself, on your own mind, how you can reshape yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's very I want.
exactly. And like you said, the I is misguided. So the guided aspect is, okay, I'm Alex, and I'm going to use the law of attraction for a Ferrari. Hold on. Why do I want a Ferrari? Well, I want people to like me. I want people to think I'm cool. I want to have something that just makes me feel like I have status, makes me feel like I'm somebody. When you break down the reasons why you might want something, people would say, "No, it's because it's this." Well, you've never driven in one. You've never had one. Like, you don't know what it is.
Yeah, you're going to slow down for speed bumps.
You're still making up in your mind what that car is capable of and what it does. You may have a good idea, but you don't know anything about it. It's some level of status or something that car brings that makes you feel like you want it, because you feel like, well, if I had that, that would complete my look or something. That would fulfill whatever I'm looking for. That would bring me the peace, the happiness, the respect, if I had that. So basically what I'm getting at is most of the law of attraction, the whole point is it's not really showing you that you can use this stuff to get peace, to get happiness, to get respect. Instead, it really just pushes the physical of like things you can have, kind of leaving that area open to you either acknowledging, okay, well, I can have this, but what I want it, or just doing a full dive into a worse version of yourself, just trying to acquire everything that you just want, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. And I think this speaks to like the overall, probably underlying foundational problem. And just a quick background, like The Secret is something that me and Alex have seen, over 10 years ago now. Like it's been a long time. It was like a mind-blowing concept at first. It was like, oh, we're not just a reactive force in the universe. It's like we can actually do something with this consciousness that we've been given, this one life that we all live right now. So it's a very empowering and motivating thought. And I think, the way that at least The Secret is framed and the way that a lot of people take it, it comes down to a very materialistic kind of, your wants, not I'm going to say your wants and needs, but not even your needs. It's like your wants. And for a lot of people, at least in the context of those teachings, it's people want to break away from suffering. And that's a big thing. When you go beyond that, you go to like what you really would aspire to. And that's kind of where you get into the idea of manifesting Ferraris in the living room. It's just kind of like our inside joke of like, we're going to manifest this Ferrari in the living room. Like, but it's when you really kind of sit down and think about it and break it down, it's not that you want the car. It's not that you want the things. It's that you want the freedom, the peace, the harmony, everything that comes with somebody who has that. And you want that lifestyle. You want to live in a way where you can afford good, nice quality things without all the, extra, this and that. But, I think it kind of speaks to the idea of most people in this life really just kind of, they don't know why they want the Ferrari, but they want it because it represents a breakaway from the monotonous everyday grind that we're all kind of finding ourselves in. And, to have something higher than that, have a taste of quality that is unachievable by normal standards, not only raises you up on a social level, but in a personal level, you feel like you've accomplished something. But just getting the thing is not necessarily accomplishing anything. It's it's symbolic of the transformation that needs to happen in order for somebody to take their life from a state of misery or want and need to a state of abundance. And that's a monumental gap that is not just only bridged by time, but it's bridged through the mind, because you can't just go from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds like the Ferrari. It's like you gotta ramp up, you have to build yourself up. Or people people that win the lottery and then a year later they're broke or something like that. Like, we've all heard those stories. And it's not about getting to a finish line necessarily, which is kind of what the materialistic side of this kind of instills in you, is like, oh, I could just get there and then everything's perfect. Well, no, it's not so simple. You get there and then all the other things you didn't anticipate are with it. So, I think what people really want is to take their life from a place of pain and fear and sorrow to a place of love, acceptance, and abundance. And that's not as clear listening to just The Secret and believing that you could manifest anything.
I agree. I mean, for me, it is Christ that brings that extra abundance. And I say that to segue to when I saw The Secret, for me, that was the obvious. For a lot of the people who watched it around me, like I could see that separation where it's like, no, this is definitely, I wouldn't say unique, but like how I'm seeing it versus everybody else around me in the conversations, like how I perceived it was unique, because I looked at it as, so I could do anything if I can believe anything. Well, I should use this for my mind.
Right.
And most people around me were like, I can have anything. It's like, well, I knew I had flaws and was looking for something. So when you introduced me to The Secret, I was like, oh, well, I can use this to fix all of that stuff. While a lot of my friends were still, they think they're just kings. They're perfect the way they are. So like, I just need more stuff. And it's like you said, it's not what you need, it's what you want. Most people don't think about what they need. They think about what they want, because need, if you feel your needs are met, well, then how do we make this better? And I think everything splits into two ways. There's people who think there's no real, like, overall just happiness. How you are in the state you're in, that's it. And it has ups and downs, and that's it. Then there's another side that you see. You see an old man with his grandkids, or even an old man just walking, just smiling. And you're like, how can you just walk and smile? You look at that guy and it naturally lights you up and makes you smile. You're like, this isn't just a smile. There's something, he's so happy. That's such a genuine smile. Like, it's just shit-eating grin. Like, this guy's just like, I'm just happy. And you're like, well, me too now. Like, why are you so happy? But a lot of it is that inner peace, that stuff that person has worked on within themselves. So most people who think everything's just kind of level and it is what it is, well, you could spice it up with all this extra stuff. But we have evidence and proof all around us, from grandpas to grandmas, for what is a real life goal. And most of us don't look at, like, our grandma is like, or our grandpa is like, oh, he was a brokey, this and that. You look at your grandpa as like, wow, he had a whole family, and his family had a family, and I get to meet him, and he's meeting his kids' kids, and this guy just seems happy and together, and he doesn't need anything else.
Yeah.
So obviously, if we skip to the end, you can't take it with you. So
right.
What it really comes down to is, are you going to spend your life trying to truly learn to enjoy just everything around you as it is, like your grandpa did, figured out at 85? Am I going to learn from his mistakes and try and follow my own inner peace now? Or am I just going to keep following things that I think will make me happy until I realize I don't need to follow them? I think that's just kind of the example we're given, the reflection in so many movies. I mean, it's all throughout time. It's like what's on the inside counts. That's what matters more. And happiness, joy, these other things, they're not unobtainable. It's just a matter of where you direct things to. And I'll end my thing with, when I saw The Secret, that is kind of how I framed it, was, I can use this on myself. And as I did, I was like, well, what do I want? And I thought Ferrari, all this stuff, but I was like, deep down, I just want to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
I want to be that person that people are just like, I can't stand that you're so happy. And I'm so happy. I just say the perfect thing and they smile and light up and they're like, damn it. Like, can't even be mad at you. Like, I wanted to be that level of happy, that it was contagious.
Yeah.
And everything from that led me back to Christ, which is what fulfilled that for me, which is what the religion claims.
Right.
But I just say that from my experience, only that to me, it's inevitable that that's the only kind of source you get it from.
Yeah.
But also that at the same time, it doesn't seem like, even though people complain about how stressed they are, the depression they have, the anxiety, the weights of the world, how unhappy everybody is with just society and each other, it boggles my mind that when people see stuff like The Secret, their first impression isn't, I could be happy,
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, like the feeling that we had seeing The Secret for the first time. It's like, you have the weight of the world, and before that, you think that the weight of the world is on you. And then you realize it's like, okay, well, the weight of the world, it's up to me now. I have the choice. I have the power. I can direct this in a way that, is advantageous to my life. And I've gained some control. And then, we saw that over 10 years ago. We've been experimenting with these ideas. We're both spiritual people. And I'm not saying that, like, to anyone out there, it's like, you have, an underlying thing that drives you, whether that's like a religious foundation or whether that's like a self foundation, that's kind of getting to what we're talking about. It's like that manifestation, that self-manifester idea is it only gets you so far. It'll get you the things that you want. It'll get you to that short-term pleasure kind of concept. But then, we've been talking about this for a long time, and whether you're a spiritual person or not, at some point you realize that, it goes from the weight of the world to it's on me to it's something else. It's a higher power. It's something else that's driving us.
It's a good way to say it.
It's not just me, because while I have the power, in a way, that there's an underlying force where I can't control other people. I don't have the power to lift objects with my mind. It's like,
but it's like you said, that in between place where you realize you have the power, you realize other people do too. And then you realize that you're really just in a middle ground of gambling,
right,
where it's like, okay, I can do anything in this category,
give and take,
and so can they. So it depends who believes they can do it more is the one who ultimately will conquer. Both of us believe we can have this car, but this guy believes it's so much more. He's looking up all these extra things and doing this extra research that he comes out and just like overbids me because he knows the secret about the vehicle I didn't know. And now, it's just like literally gambling, where it's like, okay, if I want it more, I'll work harder to get it, versus like, I mean, that really is kind of the secret, is it's like, okay, I want to be, this businessman and all this stuff, where you're constantly fighting with other people, you're working with other people.
Right, other manifestors.
And that stuff is stressful, it's exhausting, it breaks your body down.
It becomes competitive.
And then all you're really doing is competing for something, for what end result?
Right.
Well, I'll have money and that'll make me happy. Well,
But
it won't make
your
you happy. But
stress
you'll have
levels,
money.
you'll die earlier.
It's like, well, I won't have stress because I'll have millions of dollars. It's like, well, you also understand that there's also debts and loans and all these things, these business loans. And if anything goes under, there's a chance you could lose a great majority.
Yeah.
So it's like, even with millions, you don't have security.
Right.
So what it really comes down to is, are you going to compete with other people to try to get somewhere that you might interpret as happy? Or would you rather fight with yourself internally to gain happiness over yourself? Nothing worth having. Nothing worth having is easy. You're going to fight for whatever is important. And, any venture you take on that psychologically to your own character is going to be difficult. It's not going to be fun, but it's not going to be the same type of physical stress and exhaustion. It's going to be more of like a psychological battle that might take a little bit out of you, but will be replenished. While the physical, you don't get replenished really. You might hit like, well, I got a freaking bonus and all this
hit
stuff.
Your finish lines.
Yeah, I got my bonus earlier than expected, 6 months earlier. So I actually just hit my goal for the end of the year halfway through the year. We can celebrate. And then what? Go right back to grinding.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous. While internal work, more spiritual work is going to be something that's going to add to anything else you do. So it's kind of like I said, you can go through life trying to find moments to make you happy, or you can go through life trying to understand happiness. That way, when you're unhappy, it's easier to get through because you understand why, versus somebody who, could be successful making all these moves, and then something bad happens and they focus on it. They get pulled away from it. Maybe they didn't see the secret. They're like, or whatever it is. Even if they get it, no matter what, the stress affects them, versus the idea of like going to that more spiritual route where, like you said, it goes from everything's on me, the weight of the world's on me, to like, I'm in control, which doesn't mean that stress of the world isn't still on you. But that third step of, it's out of my hands. There's something bigger. It's out of my hands and it'll work. That level of stress taken off of you by itself is major.
Yeah.
But the wisdom that comes along with that is what allows you to work through those difficult times where somebody gets upset and they start yelling at you at your job and you're like, this job's important to me. Also, this has nothing to do with me. This person must be going through something because now I can see past myself. It's not all about me. I've given everything out. So now I see that this person's going through something. And instead of matching the energy and getting mad because who talks to me like that? Instead, I feel bad for this person. I feel empathy. I feel sympathy. I want to help them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to match that energy. I'm going to ask them what's wrong. I'm going to try to figure out what the source of this is. Instead of just judging them for their source coming out at me, let's figure out what that source is so maybe I can help them and it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And I can give them an example of what inner peace is. And that person will look at me and be like, damn, I'm so angry because of something that didn't go right in my life, because the weight of the world's on me, that I took my anger out on this person. And that person, they didn't make it about them. And they didn't show me the weight of the world is on them and just come at me. They didn't show me that it was personal and everything's about them and I disrespected them. No, they showed me that third one, which is, it's like I can't even touch them. Like they're not them. They don't care. Like, well, you're this. Okay, I'm whatever you say I am. I don't really care. I know who I am.
Yeah.
It's like there's a difference. Like,
see, and then,
you can't define it. All I see is what's going on with you. You can't define what I am. Not somebody who is breaking down in a public warehouse screaming at people. Like, you're the one who's advertising problems. But it's so crazy how simple it is for somebody to just get wrapped into that.
Yeah.
But when you take a step back, you're like, hey, this guy's screaming, he's doing all this. This guy's the one who doesn't have the control. Like,
And see,
just acknowledge it, and
that's painting
help.
the perfect picture. It's like, the person that loses control, they feel like, the weight of the world is attacking them. It's reactive consciousness.
Yeah.
Whereas, the in between step is kind of that like manifestor consciousness, kind of like when you just watch The Secret, you're like, oh, it's up to me now. I can do this. But then there's still a weight on you. It still means that you're in charge. You have to manifest all of this. It's all on you.
Yeah, when this guy goes off on you, he's attacking you
like,
personally.
Right, exactly.
It's like, it's about you.
Yeah,
and
you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? I don't want this to happen. It's like, oh, it
I'm a
doesn't matter.
king. Who talks to me like that?
Somebody's
The world revolves around me now. Fuck the weight of the
like-
world. I am the world. Who talks to the world like this? There is still a level of, I can't handle what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not until you reach that last step where you kind of let go of yourself, where when somebody
Right.
pushes themselves on you, you can catch them and be like, hey, it's okay. What's
Yeah.
going on? This doesn't hurt me.
and that's,
You're a little heavy, but like, what's going on, man?
and so that's kind of what I'm trying to say is that, like, whether you believe in the existence of God, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever, I mean, there's no agnostics on Zeus anymore. Like, it's pretty monotheistic or not. So like, I'm not even trying to say that, whether you believe in God or not is a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that at some point you need to put your faith into something else outside of yourself. You could call that the universe. You can call that the God. To me, those things are synonymous. Like, the universe is God. We are all part of one universal consciousness, realizing that we exist and going towards something higher. So like, don't get hung up on the idea that you have to be Christian or godlike necessarily to feel this way. It's really the idea of it's taking the I and the self out of the control, and you realize that it's not up to your control. There's something higher that's controlling everything. And when you fall in line with what that means, it is a morality. It is a direction. It's not just whatever you want. It's not just go for the Ferrari. It's, meet the people that you need to know to build yourself and build your wealth or whatever to get the Ferrari. It's not about the Ferrari. It's not about the finish line like you were talking about. You're always going to come into
It's about the relationships. It's about the lifestyles. It's about gaining perspective and showing you different parts of the world that reflect yourself that you're not willing to see.
Right.
It's
something
about
outside of yourself.
Putting yourself in situations that will show. The best way I like to say this, it's like you either go into yourself and try to see what's wrong, but if you're afraid to see what's going on in there, you go into the world, and the world will show you those reflections where you fail. That's why I like this more spiritual route, is because you there's no risk. Other than pain, but all growth is pain. If you're afraid of pain, you will never work out.
Right. There's
You'll
really
never
no
get-
downside as opposed to the alternative, which is
The
only
alternative
pain.
is you hold on to your problems and you go through life and you get corrected by life, and that will hurt like the weight of the world.
Psychologically. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And that's kind of what we're saying here. It's not about.
Yeah,
I mean,
go to
we
prison
are
and have a bad experience with a cellmate. Now I've learned. I never saw things this way. I never realized my actions could. Well, you should have. You should have figured it out before it got to that point. But everybody learns in different ways. But that's the idea of when you have that edge of The Secret or something like that, use it to try to get that edge over yourself.
Right.
How can I figure out how my mind works so well to where my mind isn't running me? My emotions aren't running me. I'm in control. It's when you're not the one in control, your emotions are, and you make a mistake and go to jail. Your mouth is, and you say some stuff and get you in trouble. Your mind is, and you try to get out of it and get yourself deeper. It's all of that will ultimately put you into such a horrible spot that you're forced to learn something that you could have just gone into yourself and asked.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, what's wrong here? Oh, that makes sense. Let me actually emotionally deal with this, logically understand it, and psychologically pull myself back together. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Instead of like, yeah, I still can't like walk the same. And I have night terrors. You know, it's like, let's skip that. You don't need the world to teach you this. You can do it yourself.
And
if you
I
really
think,
want
I think kind of the underlying thing of what I'm saying is that, you know, while we may come off as, you know, being proponents of Christianity and being religious, if you strip it down to the fundamentals, we're not saying that you have to do that. We're just saying that, you know, once you get to a certain point where you are, you know, the ideas of the law of attraction, things like that, you are in that manifestor state, that there comes a point where you go beyond that. And now it's no longer just your will. It's the will of something else. You know, it's like when you fall in line with what the order of the universe and God and everything has aligned, you know, that is evolving in front of our eyes all the time. When you fall in line with that, when you kind of mold your life into that, that's when the magic happens. That's when you have God powers. And that's the idea that, you know, you break away from yourself and now things happen for you in a way that you're not even trying to manifest them like you want it or you need it or you have to have it now. You know, things will happen for you and things will go in a way where your life is going to work so well that you didn't even realize that you wanted this, or you know, doors will be open that you didn't even foresee that will lead you to a point where you finally understand, oh, now I see where I was flawed. Now I see why wanting the Ferrari wasn't going to bring me happiness. It's not about the Ferrari. It's about getting to the point where I'm comfortable and I'm successful. And now if I choose to buy a Ferrari, I can, but I don't even want it anymore. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's deep rooted wisdom. Things that make you see the benefits outside of yourself. You know, I believe a lot of our own personal happiness comes from others. And when you only look at yourself, that your own light will die, because deep down we only want to help other people. You know, deep down you feel the best when you do something good for somebody. It could cost you $5, and the way they light up, it's like, this feeling of doing that for them feels better than when I bought my first blah blah blah. It's like, and that was $500. I spent it on myself, and it was just expected and accepted and like, cool, like,
Yeah.
I got it. Versus when you do something small for somebody and you see how it affects them and their excitement, it's like, okay, like, what else could I do to actually make people's lives easier? You know, because that makes me feel better than the stuff I get myself.
Yeah.
You know, you start to realize, like, everything really is just outside. And everything that you go through in life, like you said, these experiences you have that are going to break you down. You know, you finally get that Ferrari, but the way that journey took you, you finally got it. But when you got it, you realized you never needed it. So you're not the same person driving that Ferrari as the person who was originally saying, I'm going to have it. When you got it, you weren't the same person who got it as the one who wanted it.
Yeah.
So, and so that's kind of the idea is you can either learn that stuff yourself and then just learn to help others, or get all the way to your goal and be like, well, I learned it. Now I have a Ferrari and I have the burden of this business I'm taking care of and all this other stuff. And now that I understand that, I just want to help people and make things better. Like, I have employees who are paid minimum wage, and I can't just fire them. I can't just shut the company down. I can't just sell it. I can't, you know, it's like, now I have responsibilities and I don't know how to maneuver all this stuff because the business is big enough to buy a Ferrari. So I mean, I'm doing good. I got multiple places. You know, it's the burden. You know, work on yourself. Figure out what truly makes you happy. Figure out how to become happy. Don't chase happiness, but figure out essentially what makes you unhappy, and stop doing that.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to start.
Yeah, I mean it's very complicated because everybody has different situations. Everyone has different backgrounds.
But everything really comes down to everybody's just trying to make themselves happy. You
Right.
know, well, I'm trying to hurt myself. Yeah, because you're so hurt that what you're doing isn't as bad as that, but it distracts you from that. It's like it's still distractions from pain, which is a branch of happiness.
Right.
If you didn't want to be happy, you would steer into that pain, but you're trying to run from it. Why? Because part of you wants happiness. Doesn't matter how you spread it. Everybody deep down wants to just feel comfortable and peaceful and just good.
Yeah.
We just want to feel good. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean that's really the first step, you know, like you're not going to get to from pain to manifestor level to God powers in one step. You know, first, I think for a lot of people, which is one of the things that The Secret kind of taught us, you know, taught me, taught you, was that you have control. You have somewhat control over, and honestly, the best teaching from The Secret aren't about manifesting what you want. The best teaching from The Secret are like, if you focus on these negative things, then you're just going to see more negative things. Like, and that's so true, because if you have a negatively wired mindset where you're going to talk to somebody, you're going to expect them to reject you. You know, like you're going to expect failure. You're going to foresee something bad happening when you go out and do this one thing that you want to do. You're expecting it to fail. Like, that is probably the biggest lesson from The Secret is, yeah, you can't go into life expecting these failures and focusing on the negative aspects. Huge, major lesson from all that.
And it's been proven. It's like skiers. One of the big training tips is when you're skiing, you always focus on the clear path. You're much more likely to hit a tree if you're focused on all the trees you're trying not to hit.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. If you want to be happy, focusing on anything negative, you're going to hit it. You're going to go right at it because you just get pulled to it. Even if your brain is like, hey, brain, I want to see all the trees I could hit so I know to not do it. Your brain just hears focus on the trees. And your body, parts of you subconsciously are going to anchor towards it.
And then your psyche's like, oh, damn it, I hit the tree. Like, I knew I was going to because I was thinking about it.
And that's
there you go.
Same idea. You know, it's like, I don't want this debt. I don't want these things. I don't want this. And for some reason, the stress just causes me to buy more. And you're like, the fuck's wrong with you? It's like everybody judges each other and goes, well, they're creating their own hell. Why are they doing that? It's like, well, why do you do X, Y, Z? It's the same thing in a different bottle.
Yeah. And if you are able to separate yourself from that, you know, like, and that's a whole astronomical jump that I don't want to just say, oh, if you get past that, then you go to the next level. Like, there's people out there, you might be one of them, you know, like, that is a struggle. We could have a whole nother podcast about how to get out of that negative hole. But, you know, for all of you that have seen The Secret and want to truly take it to the next level, you know, at some point you separate yourself from focusing on the negative aspects of life and seeing the downside, or like the back of the coin or whatever. And then you get to a point where you feel like you have power and you kind of can manifest things in your life. And that's great, and it's going to work, but it's not going to fulfill you, and it's not going to complete the full God power that we're talking about. you have to take a further step. There has to be, you have to remove the you out of it. And whether that comes from a religious background, like a Christianity background, or you know, Muslim, Jew, or whatever, you know, that something needs to happen. Something needs to take you from the I am self control over the universe to surrendering control. And it's all about letting things play out and putting your faith. I mean, faith is the key word here. You have to have faith that these things are going to go in the way that the natural order of the universe aligns itself.
Because we all know if you don't have the faith and you say, well, what if it does go wrong? I'm going to focus on what could go wrong because I need to be prepared. It's like, but you always kind of know things usually go wrong. You know, it's like, what's the harm in trying something different?
And that's almost the negative side.
Hard thing for people to break out of is like when all you experience is bad and you're like, well, hey, just don't focus on it and things get better. Sounds almost like patronizing.
Right.
Like, oh, I think unhappy, so that's why grandma died. You're like, well, that's not what I'm saying. They're like, yeah, fuck you. It's like, it's hard to really explain, like, well, you're going through bad things, your mind warps into it, so now you're unsustainable. So now anything that happens, if grandma dies, you're crushed. Well, and it's an extra weight on top of that. So when you might be ready to get out of it, you get another weight.
Yeah.
While you should let everything go, float back to the top, so when bad things happen, you can be the one to pull others up and keep others up with you to go, hey, it's okay. I'll keep us together. We're going to be all right. You know?
Right. And then
you need somebody to be like, even though the boat sank, we don't have to just go right to eating each other. You know, you need somebody who's like, hey, I have hope. I have faith.
Yeah.
Like,
so like there's an in-between step, which, you know, you kind of alluded to that's the lower step. And like the in-between is more like, you know, like you feel like, oh, I'm not going to let someone talk to me that way. Like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go make this happen. You know, fuck what anyone else thinks or wants.
well,
like,
the boat might have crashed, but I'm the captain now.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep this boat afloat.
I'll lead
you know
these
what I'm saying?
people.
And then you eventually, you know, if you rise beyond that, it's not about you doing that thing. It's like, I know that the boat is going to stay afloat. I have faith that it will. And I'm just going to help everyone else to see that faith that I have. That's when the boat miraculously stays afloat. Some crab gets fucking sucked up into the hole, and his little shell, you know, creates the buoyant force to keep you alive until the Coast Guard comes to rescue you. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like crazy things that you wouldn't expect to happen, that you weren't trying to make happen. That's the difference. It's in one case you're trying to force the universe and bend it to your will. The higher power is surrender to the universe, and things will align unforeseen to you that will get you to where you need to be. Because when you follow this way, it's not like, I mean, things always go wrong, but there could also be a higher lesson in that you didn't see. You know, like if you think in a way like, okay, I'm just going to surrender to the universe. I'm gonna put this in God's hands. I'm gonna put this in the hands of the universe, and nothing bad will happen to me ever again. Well, that's not true. Like, bad things will happen, but if you really look at it in hindsight, you're like, oh well, you know, that bad thing happened, but then I talked to this person about it, and then now this person's a very influential force in my life, and it actually got me this new job. So now I'm in a place where I can afford to fix this. And you know, it's like,
instead of like dealing with that type of conflict and unsureness in the world, people normally deal with it in themselves. So when they see all this stuff, they have all this conflict. And the best you get out of that conflict similarly, when that storm kind of clears and that kind of miraculous thing happens, you realize a part of yourself that could change. That's great. But when you kind of like you said, kind of give yourself up and let all of these flaws go, if you're able to do that, like you said, then you take on the bigger picture. So now when you get that message, it's not something wrong with yourself. That message you're getting is like a higher aspect of how everything works
Yeah.
outside of yourself. In other words, I can see the hidden gems of understanding and wisdom within myself if the whole world revolves around me. But if my world is outside of me, then those gems I get are going to be outside of me.
Yeah.
And those are the gems you can use on yourself and with other people. It really is just kind of that next level. You know, you're going to have chaos and disorder and everything within yourself. And if you wrestle with it, you might learn something about yourself. And if you learn enough things, you might learn to just let yourself go, because that's a battle that you don't need to be a part of. And then you see the world and you see it all going on in the world, and then you look at it and kind of the same thing, you let it go. And then you see the messages there. And that's when you're like, oh, I understand why conflict happens.
Yeah.
I understand what hate is, what love is. I understand the deeper things. Before, I was trying to figure out how all this stuff worked while I was being bombarded with love and hate. Now I'm outside of myself and I can actually understand as a core concept love and hate.
Right.
I can understand all of these different things.
The hate is the driving force, creates a vacuum for good. You know, it's like you start to really understand how all this works. And it's not about you. It's not about you manifesting the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's how almost everybody works, is by these things.
Yeah.
But when you let yourself go, you start to understand these things that imprison so many people. You know, people have these constant internal wars with themselves on an idea of love, but they don't understand love. They're stuck in the internal battle within themselves just defined on love. When you let yourself go, you can take a step back and understand love as a concept, as like a construct, an entire like, theory. You're like,
the
oh,
concept of love. Lower level, it's like I hate, and middle level is I want. The higher level is I give. And that's when love comes back.
Yeah.
It's not that I want the love. It's not that I hate.
It's a higher understanding of I can't just go and get what I want, because if I could, I wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
It's a paradox. What I need to do is let myself go, give to others who don't see that want coming to them, be that person to bring it to them. And then what I want will come to me without me knowing. I don't need to worry about what I want. I'm worried about what other people need. You take care of that, and then God blesses you, and you're like, oh, I'm getting all of these things, and I can only chalk it up to I let go of myself and focus on others, and that shadow, that reflection is coming back on me, where something outside of myself is doing the same thing that I'm doing. You know, if I'm sitting there and I'm focused on a person wanting to give and help them, that there's something outside of myself that's doing the same thing on a level I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
And suddenly everything changes. Your life gets crazy. You're blessed day after day. I've had days that feel like movies. That feels like a dream where you're like, this can't be real. Like, there's no way this, and this happened all within a half an hour, all back to back. One of those would have been weird.
Yeah.
5 in a row. While I felt this weird feeling of just love, bliss, joy, everything gone, the day went different with that feeling than it's ever gone. That can't be a coincidence.
And I feel like that's where the secret fell short a little bit on its message. One thing that it did well is it focused on gratitude, which is part of that. It is being thankful for what you have, being thankful for, you know, your life situation and everything that's brought you here, and that is a good thing. But it falls short in the aspect of it's not, you know, it's telling that you have the power to create, to manifest, blah blah blah. but it falls short in the way that it's saying to give, to do for others, it's sacrifice. It's really self-sacrifice that gets you to a level where what you put out there, it comes back, and it doesn't quite explain that. And I feel like that's where people get hung up, is that in this in between where it's like, I manifest, I want.
Why am I not getting the stuff? It's like, well, it also says you gotta.
Yeah, you gotta
give a little bit
give to receive. You know?
you gotta
that's
do
a very
something.
old.
Yeah.
You gotta give to receive. I don't know where that came from.
I mean,
it probably came from the
The
Bible.
Secret does kind of say it in the sense of like when you feel that urge to go do something, but it paints the picture 100%. Paints the picture as like, I want a Ferrari, and somebody walks up to you want to go to a car show with me? And that feeling is like, I should go, but I got homework. It's like the reality.
I'm your rich friend. Do you want to go to the car show with me?
But that's the thing, is the reality is that pull could be anything. So if you're like, well, I want a Ferrari, and then suddenly your cousin you haven't talked to in 12 years hits you up. I just got a divorce. Like, I need a place to stay. Is there any way I could stay with you? And you're like, I feel it, but no.
I'm supposed to go to a Ferrari show today.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Ferraris. I don't really. I'm focused on The Secret and manifesting things, and I want a Ferrari. I can't have you in the house right now. I'm trying to get myself together. It's like, well, if you let yourself go and tried to help this person, maybe you'd realize in the past 12 years he's become crazy rich, and just to keep some of his assets from the divorce, wants to leave the Ferrari to you. Yeah. Whoops, you fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
You fucked up because you were worried about yourself, asshole. No Ferrari now.
Yeah, dude, that's a good.
And that's how
example.
it works. It's trippy how, like, when you read the Bible, how many little stories and stuff, you're like, if you just rename the people and change the situation and change the topic of the situation, but keep it
from
the same.
goat to Ferrari.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like, it really, a lot of these stories really do translate into almost any scenario you could ever be in. If you know how to replace certain things and go, okay, well, that was two guys. Okay, well, let's pretend one's a girl. Like, come on, you can figure these stories out. Like,
Yeah.
One's a guy, one's a girl. Well, Cain killed Abel. Okay, well, I know we're talking about your cousins and not biblical people, but if you look at like what happened on that side of your family, it was the same thing. And they're like, I mean, I guess by like the story, it's like, it's a lot of that kind of stuff where if you can understand and translate these real scenarios and stories from the Bible, you can see that you've gone through almost everything the same, that everything always has some kind of order to it, some kind of balance. And for me, that's what gives me that courage too, to kind of let yourself go and be like, okay, there's a way everything works. So there's no reason for me to hold on to myself, because I'm not going to learn anything from myself anymore as I could with the world, and it's letting yourself go and focusing on other people, watching other people genuinely. And when you see somebody in trouble, talk to them. Excuse me.
I mean, that's.
But be curious about people, be like, this person, well, that guy's fucking weird. Well, go figure him out. That's a weird ass dude. That should be interesting.
And that's the thing, to kind of to what you said, a little bit of what you said there, like, that's the thing too about people's apprehension to religion and the idea of believing in a God or a higher power or something like that. It's like everyone wants to take the Bible literally and break it down and all this stuff. It's like, if you were a God or if you had a religious teaching, how else would you pass it, pre-internet and global communication? There's only one way that it would work and survive and mean things to people across time. It's that you had to have all these basic metaphors to, like, goats and, brothers and,
But while these things could be literal, these are also the bare bones of how humans acted and how they worked.
That's what I'm
and people
saying.
say, well,
It's
that's
like,
how it was back then. We might have changed, but how we worked hasn't changed.
Right, but, like,
we're
the-
still
the
humans
message-
that like birds still fly the same way. They just got different colors.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, it's different. Everything's changed so much. We got different colors. That's it. We're still fucking people. We still murder each other. We still eat each other. There's still a lot of fucked up shit we do to each other today.
Yeah.
Who knows how many people were eaten by other people today? I don't know, but I know that there's more slaves now than there's ever been, and some fucked up shit happened then. So I assume more fucked up shit happens now.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is that you can't take the literal words of the Bible and say that they're outdated or
No, you have
or
to
that
understand the
they don't mean
context
anything.
of
It's
like how we're working.
How else could you do it? You know, like it's a formula that has worked, and that, you know, whether it applies to our modern world or not, you have to kind of step back and think about, well, could it have existed any other way? And would I know about the teachings of God and all this without that archaic book? And, you know, it's just words. It's just the human interpretation of the word of God. So it's like that is in itself kind of like there's a point there where it's like, okay, well, I can detest that, or, you know, I can disprove that or something. And people have tried, and it's like, well, at the foundation of it, isn't this morality? Isn't this foundation laid out perfectly, timeless throughout? You know,
but that's how evil is.
It's like
evil's not going to
I'm not even
acknowledge.
saying evil. I'm
no,
just
but
saying
but
that,
I'm
like,
saying
people
realistically,
that have doubts, people that don't believe.
but that
you know,
is
it's like
evil.
that
Evil is not
there's a
going to
way.
acknowledge those things. Think of it like this: if I've gone through terrible things, and those terrible things within me I don't want to acknowledge, I am not going to be able to see the message. I'm going to try to disprove it, so that that message is not something that is proof that I need to deal with this. I need to prove that everything is by my own law and my own rule. So if I disprove this, you have no law, no rule, and I can have my own again. But if you're coming to me bringing me evidence, well, I have to disprove it because I can't acknowledge it. It's evil. It's good and bad, hot and cold. If I say this is hot water, the cold is not going to sit there and be like, let me feel it. It's going to say, no, shut that whole thing off.
Well,
Because it repels. And while we don't understand it, that is how it works through us. So if you're somebody who has fallen into despair and all of these negative emotions, and somebody says, hey, you can be positive, they're going to say, no, prove it. No, I'm saying you can be positive. You can be happy. You can have joy. You can have peace. You can have love. Just read this book.
yeah.
Oh, let me prove it wrong. And you're
Right.
like, but do you know, I was an atheist hardcore. I talked so much shit on the Bible. Do you understand? I never read it once the whole time I talked shit on it. It's a natural reaction of evil against good. If a
Yeah.
part of you feels weighed down by your own sin, you're going to fight. You're going to fight even the idea that that stuff in you needs to come to light.
Well, yeah, and I guess I was saying,
And that's more where I'm coming
not
from.
necessarily even people trying to disprove it. It's just people thinking that it's an irrelevant.
Same thing.
Representation,
It's a
you know,
it's a
it's-
psychological reaction, because again, this is what I'm saying to that is any sound logical person is going to look at the Bible and say, okay, this is good stuff of how to be a good people. Why is it so controversial then? Because there's a thing that says something about slaves. Well, it's been disproven multiple times that it's not condoning slavery, that it's actually trying to pull the reins back and acknowledging that this is a way of life at that time. I'm not going to acknowledge that. It said slavery. That's the thing, is people can't acknowledge the good in it because of the bad in them. It's literally hot and cold. It's being like, how come the cold doesn't understand hot? It can't understand hot. You have to teach it hot, you know, and you can't tell it, hey, hot exists. But that's the natural reaction, is you can say, hey, this is how things work. You follow this and you'll feel happy again. You know, people will try to disprove what you're saying could help them before they actually look into it for themselves to make their own decision.
Yeah.
Like I said, I became Christian trying to disprove Christianity, because I got to a point where I got so tired of it and I felt so full of myself. I was like, I'm smart. I can do this. And I went into it and I was like, wow, I'm dumb. I'm dumb as hell.
And
Holy
that was
shit,
after
I'm wrong. I'm dumb and wrong.
Just for everyone out there, that was after a journey of
Everything.
being atheist, seeing The Secret, Manifestor level, and then that's eventually where, you know, you and I kind of both settled, and, you know, like things things have been going pretty well for me. I don't know.
Yeah, same. I mean, and it all comes down to letting yourself go and and not trying to control everything, but letting yourself go and trying to see how everything works to work with it.
Having faith.
How do I work with
It's
everything
faith.
around me, and as opposed to how do I just get everything to work for me? It's like things won't work for you unless you understand how they work first.
Right.
So you have
that's
to
the
let go
difference
of
between
yourself first.
Faith in yourself. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to make this happen in the future. And faith in something else, higher power. This will happen. I know whatever I do, it's going to lead me to this path. I know that I'm in the right way by doing what I'm doing now. It's that kind of stuff. It's just it's a tiny mental switch that makes all the difference. And I think that that's, you know, where our kind of secular, hedonistic society kind of falls short, as we expect, you know, people can break out of the world doing unto you, but then they take on the burden. They feel like they have to do it all themselves, and it's not going to result, you know, it's not going to make you happy like you think it will. It's great to have control, but you're never going to be able to control everything. You're always going to fall short, and you're always going to be disappointed. And the finish line after finish line after finish line is where people lose. They lose themselves. They lose confidence. They lose their drive. They lose motivation, and then they stop and they fall back down.
Yep. I think that's a great place to end it for the night.
Yeah.
I think this is a great thing to revisit too.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love us to open up to those other networks just to end this back and forth and really bring people in and kind of dive into this a little more. But for tonight, I think that was a good conversation and covered a lot of bases and brought a lot up for next time. If there's anything that you think we missed or need to add, please jump in the comments and tell us, because next time we want to bring you into the conversation with us. So until then, thanks for watching, and Meta Perspective out.
Meta Perspective.